Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Judgment Apocalypse Survival Simulator. Now this is an early access survival strategy game that involves making a colony and attempting to survive through the apocalypse, and it is indeed the sort of stereotypical apocalypse of demons and whatnot going around, making everyone's lives not so fun. So let's go ahead and just get started. I'll explain a lot about the game as we go, as I'm assuming most people that are watching this probably don't know too much about this game, because this is one of those few games where Steam actually recommended to me a early access game that didn't seem to be completely atrocious, and this game seemed to have a lot of parallels to Rimworld, which I'm sure many of my subscribers have noticed is a game I very much enjoy, as it constitutes the vast majority of my videos, but I decided to try something a little different as the game sounded interesting, and I've played around with it for the last several hours and I've enjoyed it quite a bit, so I've decided to make a video just to show it off a little, and if people enjoy it then I'll keep playing as much as I, well, can. So, yes, let's just start a new game. We can choose between being a filthy casual, the forgiving difficulty, challenging or custom, and of course, I have to be awesome and choose challenging because I'm just that awesome. But no, really, the game seems to choose challenging as a default, and that's what I've been playing as I've been learning the game, and I mean, it's challenging, but it doesn't seem like too crazy. It's definitely not like the extreme difficulty of Rimworld, at least not as I saw with the small amount I've played. So, we can also choose a map seed, and it's weird because when you click this random dice roll, it does not seem to be random at all, as it seems to just add like an arbitrary number to the amount that it currently is. Because if you see, it never goes down, which I found so weird. How is it that hard to make a truly random number generator that you need to just add an arbitrary amount? I don't know. But you know what? Let's do an interesting seed that seems fitting. That's a pretty fitting seed, isn't it, for the apocalypse? So let's do that. We can show tutorials, but to be perfectly honest, the main quest is sort of an entire tutorial in itself, the first couple missions, so I'll just sort of go through that, and that'll be a good enough tutorial anyways. So we go to this sort of character creation screen. We get 3 colonists, if you will. The game actually does refer to itself as a colony simulator, so I could go ahead and keep calling these people colonists and not have to call them survivors. I suppose survivors would be a little more applicable, but I can still get away with calling them colonists, as that's what the developers themselves seem to refer to them. So let's hit the randomize button, because if you look through here, we've got their name, their portrait, and we can completely change their appearances. I don't think you can change their gender, no. But you can completely change their appearances, as you can see, and their clothing. So clothing's kind of arbitrary, but I can change them up as much as I want to later on as well, and as I can also change their names. But what I'm really looking for is some varied colonists, and this seems pretty varied. We've got a fighter, an occultist, and a survivor. And basically these are the character occupations, so it kind of in a way determines what we'll be able to allow them to get good at later on, because you can't change their occupation as far as I can tell. Every character just sort of has an occupation, and that's what they are for all of eternity, more or less. So this seems like a pretty good start. We've got Brittany, Lucy, and Jan. So I guess we'll go ahead and choose this. Seems like some pretty good traits, because they also start with traits, which, as you can see, they sort of influence how well they are able to do different jobs. And usually their traits in some way correlate with their occupation, as far as I can tell. But there are some semi-random ones like Believer, which seem to just be random. Same with Clever. I don't think I've seen Clever before. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit the start button rather than just talking about the game. Because, you know, character creation screens are really the best part of any game, right? Might as well just stay there forever. Okay, so we get started with this little tale. So basically 4 of us were camping, and I guess it's funny, there's always a 4th guy named Ned, and Ned always dies. So I feel bad for Ned, because apparently Ned can never survive this apocalypse, no matter what random world he's put in. He's always the 4th guy who dies on a camping trip. So then we found out, oh hey, the world's ending, that's too bad. So we found a hidden valley to try to, well, hide from the demons and all that good stuff that appear to be ravaging the world. And the game then gives us our first quest, or I guess mission is what it calls it, and it's to build a log cabin with a food table and a bed. So that sounds like a good of an idea as any. And it's kind of funny because I remember I chose this exact same seed earlier, but everything seems to look entirely different. So it seems your starting region doesn't really seem to be influenced by your seed. And actually, I feel like even this kind of looks differently, so it's kind of funny. The game seems to still, even if you choose the same seed, it seems to generate things completely differently anyways. So, anyways, let's do what the game tells us. We've got several menus up here, and I'll sort of tell you what they all mean, and we'll learn as the game progresses. So first thing we want to do is choose a log cabin, and we only, for right now at least, we just have 2 prefab places, and it seems that all the buildings you can make are prefabrications, sort of like you can't draw your own little building, you have to prefab something, which, whatever, that's just how the game is. I might be very used to the freedom of Rimworld, and you'll probably hear me compare this game to Rimworld a lot, but I'll try my hardest not to spend half my time talking about Rimworld. Oh, let's probably pause the game, considering I'm spending so much time talking as well. So, let's plop down a log cabin somewhere, might as well choose the larger one, because, hey, we're living in style, right? Might as well choose a larger option. And, I mean, might as well just plop it right down in the middle, huh? I mean, we'll slowly expand, and eventually I think we'll take this, and we'll more or less take this entire map over into a colony, because this is basically the place we will make our colony, and from what I can tell, you do not expand in any way, you cannot move to another tile. This is where we are going to live, more or less. So everything here in this relatively small map will probably take all the resources we can and make a huge fortress. But that will be in the future. So for now, let's just make a rinky-dinky little log cabin. So there we go. That was pretty quick, wasn't it? So now the game wants us to make a food table and a bed, which are very essential because without a food table, you cannot eat. And without a bed, you cannot sleep. And those are basically 2 out of the 3 main things that keep our colonists alive. So it's a good idea to do that right away, if I do say so myself. So, now we can go and also build a bed, because the game gives us just enough resources, fortunately, to start out with all the basic requirements we need to not have our people die immediately. So now we can build an experiment table and research farming. Or I shouldn't say we can, but that's just what the game wants us to do. So, sounds good enough for me. And the one thing I really don't like is the way you place objects, because you have to hit the, I believe it's the period and comma, no, not the period and comma, it's the, well, I don't even remember. We'll find out soon enough. But the buttons for rotating, you can't rotate things like this. And it doesn't matter if you're blocking a space, people can walk around any object you place, so there's no point in making, walkways unless you just want to make things look slightly more aesthetically pleasing. But it really annoys me how when you try flipping things, there's, no change in the artwork. The only things you can flip is, as you'll see right now, these tables, because at least they do have different space usages, so if you press the flip button, yes, I was right, it's period and comma is what it is, it flips it, but you can only flip it, as you can see, you don't even flip it 90 degrees. You can only flip it 180 degrees. And that really annoys me, just because I'm weird like that, and I hate how I can't, change the art of it so that it fits with the building itself. Same with the beds. I'd love it if I could put the beds, up against the wall, but you just can't do that. Which, I don't know, it just really annoys me, so... Anyways, let's just build that before I start complaining even more. So now we've built a little table here, an experiment table, indeed. And what do we need an experiment table for? Well, research, of course. And yes, research farming. So I'll sort of go through, I think, all of these little menus up here, as I'm sure most people watching this, I mean, this game only has about 200 reviews on Steam, which is pretty low, especially for a game that seems pretty decent like this one. So most people that are watching this probably don't really know anything about it. So we've got this mission tab, which just tells us what it is we have to do, of course. The inventory tab, and we started out, I think, with 30 bread. I think you start out, I'm not even sure how much drinking water. I think 200, so we should probably pause before we drink everything. Start out with stones as well, and wood. And I think we started with wool and some other things, just enough to make a basic colony, more or less. And there's this tasks list, which basically says what all your colonists are doing. Now, you could go crazy, and what the colonists basically do is there's this priorities tab here, and it looks quite complex, but if you're familiar with Rimworld, it's basically like that. The priorities go from left to right, although in this case, instead of it being each column has its own thing, and then it always goes from left to right. You sort of drag things how you want. And I've noticed for the most part, as long as you choose like a balanced starting team, it seems to make this pretty well balanced, as you can probably tell. Although I think the one thing I'm going to want to do is fetch water should be like, who would be best suited for fetching water? Yeah, I guess for now I'll make Lucy the water fetcher, because fetching water is a very important thing, because basically anytime you're fetching water, it probably means your colony is about to run out of water, which means it's a very high priority. Oh, needed some water there. So yes, task list. So this just tells all the different tasks our colonists do, and it's all, the tasks they do is based upon that priorities menu I just showed you. It's weird though too how you have to actually go into a character before you can look at their priorities. You'd think they'd add a whole new tab for that, but I don't know. That's just me, maybe. There's also this build menu, which of course allows you to build things, and that's what I've been using to build the variety of things I've done so far. Research, which is what we're just about to get into, and let's see, we need one more research point. Let's just let us get that research point. Okay, there's the research point. So, no, not that menu yet. No, sir. Okay, so let's just get the thing it wants me to. And as you can see, the way the research is generated, you just sort of generate arbitrary research points whenever a colonist has free time, and then you can put it into whatever your heart desires. And this is another type of research, but this is occult research, and we'll get into that a little later. For now, it doesn't play much of a role. There's also crafting, and as you can see, we really can't craft much right now, and that's because we haven't researched much, and we also don't have any crafting tables or anything, so that makes sense. And then we get the world menu. So this is the whole world we can explore, and I like how it's on this shitty looking piece of graphing paper. Quite humorous. So we're right here, this is our base, and it seems you always start smack dab in the middle, at least for the most part. And these are all the different places that we will have to scavenge and explore and kill all these evil little demon guys. But as I said with the research of the occults, we'll get into that a little later. It's a good idea to follow the main mission because it's basically telling you all the things you need before your colony dies. So yeah, it's a really good idea to start with all this basic stuff first. So let's go ahead and build a farm, because farms are nice for not dying, especially in a time where there's no other food sources, so we can build this farm. Yeah, there's no hunting or anything like that. It seems like the only way to really do it is to make the proper stations in order to craft that particular resource or create that particular resource. So there's really no like hunting or anything like that. Like we get, basically it seems like the map gives you like a large amount of resources, and once you've collected all those, you kind of just have to figure out everything else for yourself after that. So yeah, let's get that done. So the farm takes water, as you'd probably expect. So you have to water the plants manually, and then tend the garden otherwise by planting and whatnot, and the person that has that, you know, growing as the highest thing in their priority list will, of course, do the most growing. So we need 2 farms, and in order to gain farms, we need both wood and stones. So the game sort of slowly introduces you to collecting resources as well. So we've got some stones up here, as you can see, so let's go ahead and quarry some of those stones. And we got a little patch of trees here, so you know what, let's just destroy the small amount of trees that we actually have nearby us, because we're cool like that. So there we go, now that that's going to be done. And yes, you might be wondering, you only have 1 bed, how do you expect to have 3 people sleep? Oddly enough, the way the sleep in this game works, as you can see, it only takes like an hour to get a full, you know, energy meter here, so people sort of just take shifts when it comes to sleeping, so you really don't need more than 1 bed, at least not for a while, especially not with how rare certain resources are, like cotton, it seems. Eventually we'll get into producing things like cotton, I think at least, but for now, not so much. So, vegetables are being made, which is delicious. Oh yes, and one thing you'll notice is in the crafting menu, you can sort of do a thing called auto-crafting, and the game automatically makes salad an auto-crafting thing, which I think makes sense because vegetables are basically the first thing you're going to have, and the only way to consume vegetables is to make them into a salad. At least that's what it seems to be the case. Maybe you can make bigger meals later on, but for now we can only make salads. So that's a depressing life, but that just seems to be how we're going to have to last in the apocalypse. I suppose that's the thing. It's the apocalypse, so I guess we'll have to deal with eating salads only for a while. I guess we should just be happy we're not getting molested by demons. So that's pretty good. Yes, one thing I think I might do off-screen is I will change all these characters, because you can do a surprising amount of customization. I can change the name, I can change the hair, I can change the face, I can change the body color, I can change the hair color. For some reason, she's like not even like black as in a black person, she's just like gray. So let's make her something different, because that scares me how she's like not actually like a black person, she's literally like the color black, like not like a African American black, like a literal pitch black. And that scares me too about Lucy. She's not even like the type of black that a person would be. She's like this weird, yeah, I guess we'll make her like a darker color, but that just scares me how she's just like literally pitch black, like not a skin tone kind of black. So yeah, I'm just gonna change that, just because that was concerning me a little. So yes, anyways, I can change all this, and I might do it off screen. I might try to name, if anyone wants to be named after one of these guys, I guess you can go ahead and tell me. I kind of want to, for some reason, name everyone after like random video game characters though, but I'll do that off screen, because I'm not going to spend like 10 minutes going through all this random junk. So that's just something I wanted to point out. The game, it doesn't have too much depth, but it's enough, I think, to keep me interested for a while, so that's one thing I like about it. It's nowhere near as complex or deep as, say, Rimworld, but it's got enough, I think, to keep people that are into this genre interested for a while. So, let's see here. I think we've got enough now to make our garden. No, we don't. We literally need one more wood. How despicable. So, let's create a task and I guess chop down some more lovely trees. That works. Let's also make sure we're not draining a particular resource too fast. Yeah, we're making a little bit of salad, but you can tell we're draining our bread resource, so it'd be a good idea to be a little self-sufficient soon, and that's what we can do now. Let's go ahead and make a vegetable farm, and one thing I think I'll do is these little things, if you notice, they're like little pieces of rubble, I guess, from some town or city that got destroyed, I guess is how you'd explain it. And we can get scraps and medicine out of it, so I think it's a good idea to go ahead and collect some of that stuff, because that will be useful to us in the future, and for the most part our colonists don't have much better to do anyways, as of right now. But yeah, it seems the default prioritizations are pretty decent, so I'm not going to screw with them too much, especially because I don't know about this game enough to want to completely reorganize the prioritizations. I'll just sort of stay with what's default for now. So now we want, well, the game wants us to craft 2 clubs, because I guess now that we're self-sufficient, we need to start killing things. Then again, demons I don't think we're going to be able to make peace treaties with, so I guess it's a good idea to make something to defend ourselves. So now we're going to make 3 clubs, and right after that, the game says it wants us to scavenge a nearby location. And it says, assistance needed. Someone nearby is being chased by enemy creatures. And that's basically, as far as I can tell, the only way you can really gain new people. Is you'll get this random event every once in a while where it says someone nearby requires assistance, so you have to go ahead and travel to their location. And, well, we've got two minor demons and an imp to attack, so let's go back to the base, actually. And first, well, let me make sure, let me give everyone a weapon. That would be a good idea. First, don't really want to go taking on demons with fisticuffs. At least, I don't think that's the best idea. So, I'm gonna give everyone a little club here, because a club's better than, well, nothing, I assume. Anyways, you don't want to go hitting some demon's horn with your hands. That probably wouldn't feel too good. So, let's go here, and it tells you what enemies you'll be facing, which, I don't know, it's a good and a bad thing, because obviously, otherwise, you would have no way of predicting what kind of things you'll come across. And as you might find out in the future in this game, when you come across enemies that are stronger than you, your guys are just screwed, so I guess it's a good thing they tell you which enemies are where, although there are and it also tells you what loot you'll get if it's a scavenging location, so I don't know, I feel like there should be a little bit less predictability, or I guess a little bit more unpredictability is what I should say. But I don't know, that's what the game developers have decided. But as I said, though, the alternative is you have no idea what you're facing, and with the way this game is made, you'd get very much screwed every time, because you'd have to over-prepare for every measly little mission. So, now we've got to choose who goes, and you have to always keep at least one person behind at the base. So I think we'll keep our occultist behind, considering, I don't know, makes sense to leave someone who's not really specialized in fighting behind. So let's send our survivalist and our fighter. So we just click send, and they move kind of like Rimworld, where they move in real time as your base is still running, so we have to go ahead and hit normal speed. So now there's just little old Lucy here doing her little scavenging all by herself, and we got there. So the game throws us into this combat mission screen, and it always says this mission every time, which I don't know why. Like, it says this exact same message, which seems kind of pointless. I mean, maybe the first time it makes sense, but when it shows that exact same message every time, it gets a little annoying. So, I don't know why, but when I first saw this, the thing I immediately thought of was the game, what the hell, XCOM, yes, XCOM, because in XCOM, it kind of starts out very similar to this. You start out on sort of a huge, well, not huge, but a randomly generated map, which is what this game does, and you sort of have only as good of line of sight as your people have, and then you have to sort of go around and hope you don't die. Though admittedly, this game, the combat is real-time, so it's really nothing like XCOM. It just kind of reminds me of it with the way the fog of war works, and, you know, the fact that you go in completely blind, more or less, so it kind of reminds me of that, but as you'll see, the combat is nowhere near as good as it is in the original XCOMs. And, as you can see, we have yet to find the demons, which gets a little annoying, which is why I'm going to go and hit 2x speed, because I really don't want to be walking around at a snail's pace. And to be honest, especially if the early combat, there's really no need in having, like, any sort of tactics. So, let's slow things down now. And you basically just choose who you want your people to fight, and they just sort of stab at them slowly, and then they die. So the combat's quite simple. We do get ranged weapons, so tactics become a bit of a thing, because obviously you don't want meleeers going after your ranged weaponry people, so there's a little bit of tactics later on, but for right now, the combat's kinda lackluster. So, we got a new person. I didn't even read who it was. I probably should have read. Actually, that screen summarizes all the things you've gained, so it would have told us. So we just got Bobby, another occultist, which is kinda too bad, because I was hoping we could get an engineer, because there seems to only just be 4 occupations as far as I can tell. There's fighter, occultist, survivalist, and then the engineer. And the engineer is good for, you know, building and mining and different resource collection things. So I was hoping we'd get one of them, but no, we got another occultist, which, at least for right now, not the most useful thing. Let's also look at your stats, because we can. No, not there. Skills is what I mean. You are an occultist, so you've got a higher research and ritual speed when it comes to occult things, but you're also adventurous, so actually that's useful. That does make you a little bit more like an engineer, because, yeah, you're better with bows apparently, and you're better with chopping things down. So, there we go. So what does the game want us to do now? Scavenge a nearby location. Yeah, that wasn't considering scavenging, I don't think. So although we just got a new colonist, that also, though, I think means we want another farm, because as far as I can tell, it seems like one farm provides enough food, just enough food for 2 people, assuming you stay on top of it completely. So I think it would be a good idea for us to focus on making another farm so that we don't, you know, starve to death. That'd be a pretty pathetic death. It's the apocalypse, and the thing that kills you is starvation because you were stupid. You know, not the demons, it was just you being an idiot and letting yourself starve to death. That'd be a little pathetic. So, yes, anyways. I didn't even pay attention. Let's see. Yeah, we need wood, so let's chop some more lovely trees down, because screw you, Mother Nature. You don't matter when the demons are here. I need your precious wood. We can do something, though, too, if you can't notice, in the crafting thing, and I'm not sure if this is just something I have as sort of a placeholder, is because trees obviously don't regrow on their own, you can sort of place saplings. And that annoys me very much, because it seems... Okay, good. If you hold shift, it's weird, other structures, if you hold shift, it doesn't seem to place multiple of them, but I guess with the trees you do. So let's just sort of surround us. Oh, you can sort of drag them too. Okay, that's smarter then. I'm just gonna make like a huge thing of trees down here because, as you can see, we don't have very many that are right next to us, so you know what, let's go crazy and make a bunch. I'm curious how long it's gonna take to plant all of these, though. Because I'm assuming it's our builder or whatever that ends up planting them. Let's see. Okay, it does take quite a bit of time, so that was actually kind of stupid. Let me see, can I cancel things? Yeah, let's cancel some of these. It seems a little excessive, I think, for now. Let's maybe just go to, like, there. Yeah, that I think would be good. Alright, so, anyways. Other than that, let's just... Okay, yes, we can make another one, so let's make another one right here, and I think... Yeah, hopefully this gets done getting scavenged soon, so then we have a little bit of an extra area to build something on. Because I want to make a nice little 4x4 thing of farms just because I can. Or I guess it's an 8x8 if you count the in-game squares. Alrighty then. So, other than that, the next major thing is scavenging, and I think we can go ahead and do that right now. I think I'll do that and then end the episode. So, the way the scavenging works is you obviously choose a location, it tells you the enemies you'll face and the loot you'll get. So let's find something we might need, but also make sure we're not taking on enemies that will completely annihilate us. Although first, one thing I should do, I'll just craft a single club for our new guy. Alright, I think we probably got it already. It seems like clubs are very easy to craft, which makes sense considering they're just pieces of wood, more or less. Alright, so now that we've got everyone equipped with a club, let's find where we want to go. So these people have stones and scraps. Let me just go through here and see if anything catches my eye in particular. Yeah, we get scrap from all of them, but we could choose between a little bit less scrap but a little bit more of something else. So you know what, let's get some stones. I think we could use those pretty soon. So let's go to this industrial area and face 2 imps and a demon. Which should be, honestly, quite simple. And as you can see, though, our fighter was wounded in the last, well, fight. So I think we'll keep them at the base, but send everyone else. Now, the one thing, though, is when it seems like it obviously makes... You have to, you know, spend a certain amount of food, and it doesn't let you send the group unless you've got that food. So it seems like the way the food is that you obviously can't eat like 1/10 of a piece of food because that's not how the units in this game are made. So it always rounds it up. So when it's kind of a bad investment when you're first starting out because it always is going to take 1 food per person you send. But I'm going to send 3 people because I just want to be safer than sorry. And I'm okay with spending a little bit of extra food in order to make sure everyone doesn't die. So let's do this again and we'll just... This will be just as easy, I think, as the last one, so I'm just going to send everyone guns a-blazing, or I guess clubs a-blazing. Also, those imps look a lot creepier when it's 3 times speed. Or, I think, what? 2 times speed? Yeah. They scurry around very menacingly. I wouldn't even say menacingly. They look like little spiders, though, which creeps me out. And there we go. That was pretty easy. Yeah, the combat is definitely one of those things that, well, you can very easily get overwhelmed, especially with the harder enemies, because imps and minor demons are the easiest by far. Alright, now the game wants us to build an occult library and research demon origins, and I have to say, the first time I read that, I read it as demon orgies, and I'm like, whoa, game, you took a turn from what I was expecting, but no, it's origins, not orgies. As much as that would be interesting to see, I suppose... No, this is not that kind of game. Alright, so yes, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here, so thank you all for watching. I guess let me know what you think of this series and this game. And I didn't mention this, but this game is $15 on Steam, so just as a comparison, Rimworld is $30, so it's half the price of Rimworld, so it doesn't make quite that much sense comparing it to Rimworld at every moment like I don't think I did it that much this episode, but I'm probably going to do it in the future. But yeah, it's a decent little game, I think, and I really wanted to show it off because it's definitely a game that hasn't seen very much, you know, loving from the Steam community at large, or I guess I should just say the gaming community at large. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the game, think of the game, I should say, think of the Let's Play. I guess let me know if any of you want to be named after a character. It seems like, as usual in these games, I have a large amount of females, which is the opposite of my my number of viewers. A lot more males than females, but I guess if anyone wants me to make a special female or something or whatever, go ahead and tell me. Otherwise, yeah, thank you all for watching and hope to see you next time. Goodbye.